Insect and mite pests of nursery crops present unique challenges and opportunities with respect to their management and control. Nurseries produce a wide variety of ornamental plants ranging from trees to bedding plants, annuals to perennials, and both woody and herbaceous crops. This diversity and high density of plants requires varied and often conflicting horticultural practices and creates an environment that supports a larger number of arthropod species than is encountered in less diverse cropping systems. Many of these arthropods are pests kept under control by beneficial arthropods such as predators and parasitoids, that is, natural enemies. However, natural enemies are susceptible to broad-spectrum pesticides applied during nursery production. Thus, effective alternatives to chemical control should be incorporated into production systems, reducing negative impacts on natural enemies, pollinators, and other beneficial arthropods. I'm Dr. DeBusk, and this video discusses the most common arthropod pest strategies for management and insecticides in nursery production. Managing insect pests in the nursery industry presents unique challenges not encountered in other areas of agriculture. Because the nursery product is a living plant, usually with accompanying soil, the chances of spreading pests with the plant are greater. Consequently, it becomes necessary for the nursery growers to manage nursery crops to be free of significant populations of noxious insects. The nursery industry has a unique opportunity that should be welcomed by all growers: their annual nursery inspection visit. Department of Agriculture inspectors diagnose pests and diseases and can suggest control measures. The grower is informed of problems that would prevent the sale and shipment of plants. The inspector may advise monitoring a potential problem pest, a chemical application, pruning out the infested portion of the plant, quarantine, or the destruction of plants depending on the severity of the problem. Should the grower not comply with suitable control measures, the inspector, as a last resort, can stop sales of all nursery stock. These are some of the most common pests. The majority of these pests suck the juices out of the leaves, causing stippling, yellowing, and distortion. Mealybugs, soft scales, aphids, and whiteflies secrete honeydew, which may cause the growth of sooty mold. Spider mites are arachnids that produce webbing on plants. Mealybugs are soft-bodied insects that are covered with white, powdery, or cottony wax-like material. They tend to congregate together, appearing like fluffs of cotton on the foliage. Armored scales secrete a waxy covering over their bodies and may be circular, oval, oblong, thread-like, or pear-shaped. Soft scales also secrete a waxy covering, but it is part of their body. Aphids are soft-bodied, pear-shaped insects that vary in color and are generally less than 1/8 inch long. The most distinguishing feature is two short cornicles or tubes extending from the end of their body. Gall insects occur on a wide variety of woody plants. Adults lay eggs in the tissue, causing abnormal growth of plant cells where the larvae or nymph lives. Whiteflies resemble tiny white moths. The wings and body are covered with a fine white powdery wax. Nymphs are found on the underside of leaves and are flat, oval, and slightly smaller than a pinhead. Thrips are very small, elongate, cylindrical, gregarious insects. Lacebugs are gray or brown and somewhat rectangular. Some species have a broad, hood-like projection that extends over the head. They have a lace-like appearance and feed on the underside of leaves. Many growers have traditionally applied insecticides and acaricides, miticides, on a preventative schedule. Usually a mixture of insecticide-acaricide was applied on a 2-week or monthly basis during the growing season to provide assurance of complete insect and mite control. This, however, was not the case. The insecticide treatments killed most of the harmful insects and beneficial insects as well, but not all. It is the harmful insects that survive that are resistant to the insecticide and produce new populations of insects, also resistant. This led the grower to use stronger and stronger chemicals as insects became more and more resistant. IPM developed as a response to this cycle. The first method of control should be prevention and avoidance. The following are some recommendations. Maintain vigorous, healthy plants by using proper culture and management practices. Use host plant resistance. Select and grow cultivars or species that have fewer pests. Scout plants for pests. Use phenology records and thresholds to make spray decisions. Use soaps, oils, and biologicals, least toxic chemicals, whenever possible. Spot spray only infested plants that exceed the threshold. Destroy heavily infested or injured plants. Biological measures require the use of plants, single-cell organisms, people, insects, or animals. It is important to remember that the effectiveness of any predator depends on the adaptation to climate, interaction with other organisms, and the continued availability of the host for the predator. The following are some recommendations for using biological control agents. Match beneficial species to the pest and plant. Conserve and promote beneficial insects by selective pesticide use. Tolerate low-level pest populations to sustain beneficials. Use soaps, oils, and biologicals as preventatives to conserve natural enemies. Release beneficials when pest populations are expected, through records, or first detected. Insect feeding habits determine to some extent the type of chemical control to be used. Pesticides can be classified as stomach poisons, contact residuals, systemics, or fumigants. Fumigants must be used in enclosed areas and have very little application in the field or container production conditions. Chewing insects such as caterpillars, beetles, and grasshoppers are the targets of stomach poisons. Stomach poisons must be ingested, and since piercing sucking insects, aphids, mites, leafhoppers, etc., feed below leaf surfaces, they often avoid contact with stomach poisons. However, contact residual chemicals such as malathion kill a wide variety of pests. Such chemicals poison insects or mites that crawl on treated surfaces, eat treated leaves, or are sprayed directly. Contact insecticides require contact with the insect to be effective. Direct sprays on the pest or on the area frequented by the pest is necessary for the pesticide to be effective. Systemic pesticides are absorbed by the plant through the roots and leaf tissue and then ingested by the pest feeding. Most systemic insecticides that are applied as sprayed are also contact pesticides. Pesticide resistance describes the decreased susceptibility of a pest population to a pesticide that was previously effective at controlling the pest. Pest species evolve pesticide resistance via natural selection. The most resistant specimens survive and pass on their acquired heritable traits to their offspring. The following are strategies to managing pesticide resistance. Reduce pesticide use by practicing IPM and prevent pest outbreaks. Use soaps, oils, and biologicals as much as possible to avoid resistance pressure. Spot treat. Apply pesticides only to infested plants so as to maintain susceptible pest populations. Use an economic or aesthetic threshold to make control decisions. Tolerate low pest populations. Rotate chemicals by class, either in sequential applications or by pest generations. Manage pesticide use rate. Use lowest dose that provides control. A grower may take the time and trouble to spray plants only to be disappointed with the results. Although the chemical is usually blamed, this conclusion is rarely well-founded. As a matter of fact, errors in pesticide handling, such as improper storage, improper timing, and wrong concentration, most often account for pesticide failure. The best and most expensive insecticide will produce poor results unless it is applied thoroughly and at the proper time. Pesticides should only be used when the insect is causing or is about to cause significant damage and other less toxic control measures have failed. After the pesticide has reduced the population to tolerable levels, it may be possible to again manage the pests with less toxic materials. To be most effective, the pesticide must be applied when pests are present and vulnerable, and at proper rate and sufficient gallonage to permit thorough coverage of all upper and lower surfaces of leaves and branches. However, even a well-timed application is likely to be a failure if the correct pesticide is not used. Because few insecticides control all insects and mites, carefully check the label to make sure the chemical on hand is registered to control the problem pest. Environmental conditions also affect the efficacy of a pesticide application. At temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit or above 95 degrees Fahrenheit, the insecticide may lose some of its activity. Therefore, applications other than dormant oils are usually not recommended in winter. Warm weather applications are best made in early morning or late evening when the wind is still and the temperature cool. Nursery crops may be reinfested by a resurgence of the original pest population or by other flying insects. Therefore, recommendations often emphasize repeated applications at specific intervals to manage the pest population or introduce a biological management system following insecticide use. Improper pesticide storage is a possible contributor to pesticide inefficacy. Insecticides and acaricides tend to degrade over a period of time once they've been opened. This problem may be common for the grower who purchases more pesticide than can be used in a single year or season. Moisture, air, light, and temperature extremes all adversely affect stored chemicals. Generally, pesticides should be stored in a dark, dry place where the temperature never falls below freezing or exceeds 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In conclusion, hopefully you learned about the types of arthropod pests that occur in the nursery. Monitoring and controlling the pests early and with the least toxic method will allow for natural enemies to thrive and reduce environmental pollution.